We have breaking news as the Toronto Maple Leafs have made a big signing, finally signing Alex Nylander to an NHL contract. We're going to break down that signing, discuss what it means going forward, as we also have an interesting note on Matthew Knies and an update on his front, which is a little bit concerning. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, but before we get into it all, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button. If you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, about 70% of you who are watching this right now aren't subscribed. This is the place to be for daily Leafs content. We keep you up to date with all the latest news because we literally just recorded a video that we uploaded, of course, and the second video of the day here because, Darius, we have some breaking news, and we've been talking about it on the channel. I feel like we spoke it into existence a little bit here. Alex Nylander has officially been signed to an NHL contract, which means that he will, in all likelihood, be making his Leafs debut, of course, he played in the NHL before, Sunday night against Utah. So let's dive into it. And there is an update, like you see here, on the Matthew Knies front, but again, we had a video earlier about how they're monitoring the trade market for centers and all these things. But a big piece of news here. The Leafs have signed Alex Nylander. He started the season on an AHL-only contract and produced 8 goals and 12 points in 12 AHL games. He doesn't need waivers to join the Leafs roster, which he does immediately. He will need to clear waivers to return to the Marlies. So we'll dive into his stats, how he's been doing. You saw a quick game clip there in the intro. Darius, it's finally happened, and a long time coming, I feel like, this season, but the best AHL player for the Leafs is now, or for the Marlies, sorry, is now going to be playing and making his debut for the Leafs.
Yeah, there's a couple things to break down here. This is very intricate, actually, but he is the best player on the Toronto Marlies because he is an NHL player in the AHL, and we said it during the summer. I thought this was an odd move, but it made sense for his career to be living with his brother in Toronto, even if they are on separate teams. And I said during the summer as well, this is a situation where he won't be on the Leafs unless there's a lot of injuries, and almost every, key player for the Leafs at this point in time is injured besides William Nylander and obviously Mitch Marner. So it's been a rough go for the Leafs, and he finally gets the call. He has been their best player. I mentioned it in a video either yesterday or 2 days ago that I'm kind of surprised that it wasn't, not surprised, but you would think logically it would be this player because he is the best player getting the call, but obviously with contracts and whatnot. But it looks like Matthew Knies, and we'll get to that later in the video, will not be playing Sunday, and Alex Nylander will be, and this is a feel-good story. Like, he gets to play with his brother in the NHL now for the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? As two Swedish guys who grew up wanting to play in the NHL with their father playing in the NHL. Like, it's a pretty cool story coming into Sunday, and I think that one thing that's lost in all of this too, Alex Nylander is a left wing, so he could actually play on the same line as William Nylander on Sunday. I think that's something that we're going to have to watch to see if Craig Berube wants to do, but a lot of fun storylines. But I also want to, manage expectations as well. This is a player that probably won't stay with the Toronto Maple Leafs in any form once everybody comes back from injury, because, I don't know if he can help the team when everyone's injured. I don't know if he fits into a role like that. And, he's not great defensively. So when we watch him Sunday, keep that in mind. He is not the best defensive player, but an incredibly high ceiling offensively, just like his brother. So it's really exciting. There's a lot to look forward to here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, though. I think there might be a world where there is a world he stays at the Leafs, because now, in order to go back to the Marlies, though, he's going to have to clear waivers, and I don't think he does. I don't think he would clear waivers if
That's the other
they
thing.
try to send him down. So if he comes up and has a very rough stretch of, 5 to 10 games, whatever it is, yeah, they'll probably let him go. But I mean, he could be coming for a guy like Connor Duer's spot. Very different players, obviously. Connor Dewar is defensive-minded, great in the PK. Alex Nylander is a goal scorer, and that's about what he's done throughout his entire NHL and his AHL career. And again, the contract is a 1-year, $775,000 contract. He's been recalled by the Leafs, and Knies has been placed on the injured reserve retroactive to Wednesday, so a couple days ago, as of the time of recording and uploading. But it's interesting because you mentioned it. Again, I don't know how much impact he's going to have later on in the season, but I want to dive into this specific part. You kind of transition perfectly here. He will need to clear waivers in order to return to the Marlies now. And I'm going to ask you, do you think he would even be an option for another team? I think there's a good chance he doesn't clear waivers. If, for whatever reason, once everyone gets healthy, if he doesn't play well and things don't go great, they probably just lose him, and he goes to a team that desperately needs some goal scoring or needs some, like you mentioned, he's an NHL player, and he'll need to clear waivers now, which, again, the big benefit to him getting signed by the Marlies was that he could have gotten an NHL contract elsewhere. Reports came out about that. He came out and said that, but he wanted to live with his brother, be with his brother, and now if he doesn't play well, he's not going to be, he might not be a Marlie.
He's dealt with a lot of injuries through his NHL career, and he's kind of bounced around teams. And I don't know if Buffalo really took care of this player. He was an 8th overall pick. So he's had some really, really bad luck in that way. And I think he made a decision this summer to come play with his brother, not with his brother, but live with his brother in the same city and play in the AHL. And he made that decision. He could be in the NHL somewhere else. But that being said, the caliber of player that he is, I have a hard time believing that he's going to, clear waivers when they eventually send him back down. I think another NHL team is really going to be keen on him because he's been really good in the AHL so far this year. So that's going to come at no surprise. But we've seen it before. His agent or himself can kind of just float it out there that, hey, maybe I won't report, right? I don't know if that's very likely, but that is something that we have seen in the past. And maybe he's like, listen, I won't report. I want to stay in Toronto. So I could see a world where that happens as well. But yeah, I think he's a great player for what he does, right? Again, when everyone's healthy, I don't see him with a spot on this team. He just doesn't fit the roles that they need certain players to fit on every single line on this team. But for right now, this is exciting and a really good story. And I think he's going to come up and be electric. I think he's going to be really fun to watch. He seems very driven coming to Toronto. Like, I can't say that that's the same motivation and mindset that he had in different cities when he played for different teams. So he seems very motivated and driven. He's been playing great in the AHL so far. Almost looks too good at times for the AHL, offensively at least. So I'm excited to see what he does with the Leafs. And if he plays with William Nylander on the same line, I think that's going to be fun to watch on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, the big question mark now is whether he is kind of like, I mean, in baseball, they say a quad A player, whether he has like, he's too good for the AHL. Can he be an NHL player, a sustainable player, will be the biggest question. There's a couple other updates I want to go over here. So again, and Alex, in case you're unfamiliar with his stats, we've obviously been keeping up with him. 14 games, 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points. He has been really, really good, and he's finally going to get a shot on Sunday. So even more storylines now for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll probably see Nikita Grabenkin in there, Alex Nylander. It's a half an AHL team there. But Craig Berube says nice, it's improving, and doesn't have an update for a timeline. So he's not going to play Sunday, which is why, of course, he's on the IR, which opens up a spot for Alex Nylander. Not great news, quite frankly. There's some positive news because it opens up a spot for Nylander here, and it's kind of paved the way to get him up. But again, you don't need a spot because of how everything's working with this. But regardless, Matthew Knies is going to be out now for a little bit. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, clearly, the hit wasn't great. I think he will be fine ultimately. I suspect a late next week return, but everybody on the team, it seems like, is getting injured at this point, and a little bit concerning, but the next man up mentality is continuing to shine through here. We have a quick Austin Matthews update, which we'll get into in a minute, but any quick thoughts on Nas?
Yeah, next man up for the time being, right? He's not going to play Sunday. It sounds like he's improving. I don't think they don't seem too concerned, except for the fact that they needed to call somebody up in Alex Nylander for Sunday. But I would suspect that he's going to play in Florida, one of the games in Florida, so he should be back next week. It really doesn't seem like they're concerned. They're just trying to give him a second here to recoup, and maybe it looks like he got hit in the head, right? So, and he hit his head off the ice as well. So probably just giving him a sec here to get back up to speed, and he should be back next week. They don't seem concerned about it.
Yeah, not a big deal, I don't think. We hope not. We've heard this before. We said the exact same thing about Austin Matthews' injury. And speaking of that, Sarah Valley reports that he's scheduled to return to North America sometime in the next day, and that the Leafs are hopeful, that when he returns, his injury will completely be behind him. So it seems like his return is imminent as well. A lot of guys are starting to, near a return, whether that was, of course, we saw Domi injured this season. We've seen a ton of guys injured. It seems like Austin Matthews, his trip was just to get things fixed, and it seems like he'll be fully healthy. And quite frankly, this team, I think, is going to be a little bit scary once they get everyone back. So any thoughts on that before I wrap up here? Breaking news on a late, not really late, I guess afternoon, but later afternoon on a Friday nonetheless.
Everyone looks like they're buying in. I kept saying it, between the 15 to 20 game mark is when we were really going to see the shift one way or another. Is it working? Is it not working? And right now I think it's working. So once everyone comes back, I think they're going to be a really scary team to play against and a fun team to watch for Leaf fans. And again, on the Austin Matthews front, the one thing to keep in mind is he hasn't skated this entire time, as he obviously he was skating at first, even when he was missing games, but obviously he's now gone to Germany. He's getting treatment, all that. He hasn't been skating. So coming back, he's not going to play Sunday. We know that because he's coming back in the next 24 hours, but he's got to get skating again. And the Leafs play again on Wednesday. So I'm even questioning that game. Maybe Saturday, you can kind of pencil in his return, because he's got to get skating back up to speed. He's got to practice and then get ready to go. So I think his return is actually still a little bit further away than a lot of people think. It could be the end of next week or even December at this point. And a lot of Leafs, due dates to come back are in December. So it's going to be interesting.
Which is good timing, because December is the busiest month of the season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But let us know down below your thoughts are on the signing. A big one, came out of nowhere, and we'll keep you guys up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. See you guys later.